going on, people? Proof here, and today I'm going to be talking about ARG Springfield that went down last Sunday, and it was a really fun experience. I really enjoyed it, and the deck that I played was, of course, my Rise of Miracle deck, which I featured in my deck journey not too long ago. Didn't change it at all. Puppy's outside. I didn't change it up at all. I played it as it was when I featured it in the deck journey. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna talk about my games that took place on Sunday, and then I'm gonna talk about ideas that I might have for changing the deck up now and going into the future. And so round one, I played against one of the guys I know from here. He was playing Nubatama, and that deck, it's a winnable matchup for Spikes. It's just that it's tough because they generate so much pressure with their discarding that eventually, if I don't win fast enough, and it can accumulate too much to where I can't overcome it. And so, excuse me, I always burp when I'm on screen talking, but I digress. And in the first game, I had the G assist going into grade 2, and I believe I whiffed it the first time, which set me back because my plan was to just ride up normally and pressure him from there, but that was pretty much shot. And one thing he did that was really annoying was that he put Dreadmaster behind his Vanguard. And so what that did was that it kind of forced me to either risk constant one-to passes or allow it to hit me and get the discard in. And what I should have done, I believe I had the cards to do it. I should have given him one to pass usually, because if he triggered through it, it would have hit me regardless, and I would have lost that card. But then I would have lost 2, so that probably wouldn't have been the best idea. What I did was that I would usually let it hit and let him use his counterblast to discard me. But by the time I was able to ride successfully, it was a little too late, in that I was able to use Miracle Ace successfully, but he was at such low damage that it didn't matter in the long run, that he was able to survive and then hit me on the swing back with a Toggle Lord. So game 1 was pretty crappy. And then game 2, more of the same happened. I think I had the G assist again. And when I did stride, he was on his break ride, and he was at 2, and I hit a critical, and I gave it all to my Vanguard, and then I passed the power to the rear guard. And so even if it hit or not, he was still at break ride. And so he rode Sheer Nui, and I discarded and bound a card, so I lost 2 cards there. And then he strode, so I lost a 3rd card. And then he went to a Toggle Lord again, because I believe he G-assisted, not G-assisted, but G-guard, and went to a Toggle Lord again. And then I pretty much had far less cards in my hand to be able to block a Toggle Lord successfully, and I ended up losing there 2-0. So pretty bad start to the day, but I just played that really poorly in the long run, because I've faced Nubatama before, with and without Dreadmaster, and I've been successful against it over course of time and in various occasions. But just this time, just the cards didn't line up for me, which is fine. Excuse me. And then round 2, I went against one of my friends up here, Dan. He was playing Brave Altmile, and I don't know what happened between game 1 and game 2, but my deck just seemed to come together and start functioning like I'm used to it functioning. And I guess you could say it woke up, quote unquote, and like things started going smoothly. I started getting my pieces together timely. I started getting triggers more readily, and he would push me to high damage, and then I would be able to successfully Miracle Ace him because I took advantage of Brave having a low hand in general. And so from there, I ended up taking the first game thanks to my usual shenanigans with Miracle Ace. And then game 2 was more of the same. Like, there was a scary moment because I think he hit a critical on his first drive check when I was at 3 damage. So I was thinking, here we go, because I've lost to Royals often. Like, story time. I don't know what it is, but whenever I'm in tournaments, when I'm using spikes, whenever I would face Royals, my deck would just shut down on itself, and I would never be able to win against Royals. But I guess my deck was tired of that, just like I was, and it came through for me by being able to take these games 2-0 against Dan. And Dan's a really cool guy, so we just yucked it up and had some fun along the way with it. And so from there, I was sitting 1-1, and I faced Great Nature. I played Nice. You've seen him on the channel a couple times. You've heard him talking during the podcast. And I faced Nice. He was playing Great Nature. And I'm used to him playing Chat Noir Tester Fox. And so going into it, I was expecting that. But then I saw him play testing before the tournament. I saw him play testing Big Belly version of the deck, which in my opinion is really good now thanks to their stuff they got from the tech booster. So he changed it up, and going into our game, I was kind of nervous that he would put so much pressure on me with Hrimthurs, Gray Belly, all those guys, to be able to pressure me to where I wouldn't be able to come back with Miracle Ace or any of my strides for that matter. So I was nervous about that. And in game one, my deck did what it did. He didn't push me high enough with his combos, so when I was able to stride, he had, at the end of his turn, he went Hrimthurs first stride, and I think he played a Gray Belly along with an Otter. And by the end of his turn, he had like 14 cards in his hand. But since most of them were 5Ks instead of 10Ks, because he didn't see his triggers come up or his criticals come up at those times, I was able to push him from, I believe, either 2 or 3 to 6 damage on my Miracle Ace turn just by forcing him to use those 5K shields. And game 2, I got completely demolished. Things did not come together that game, and he pretty much beat me by the time his first stride came, and I was like, nah, let's just go to game 3 from here. And in game 3, it was a really good back and forth game between us. And I think for me, the critical moment was that, because I don't remember seeing a PG in his hand, but I kind of felt that he had one. And so it came down, I went Miracle Ace, and he was at 4 or 5 damage, and I was out of charge units minus having melee in my hand. And I debated it, and I decided not to use my GB3 to place melee, because he would just either take the 5th damage or he would PG it, so it would be a pointless attack anyway. So I cut my Miracle Ace short, and I ended my turn with 5 cards in my hand, a PG, and I believe I had Stride Fodder for the next turn, and then I had 2 heals and a crit. And he went into Gray Belly, not Gray Belly, but he went into Bigger Belly. Or I don't know what his official name, but we call him Bigger Belly, Stride Big Belly. And so he had low hand thanks to Miracle Ace to when he used Bigger Belly. I think he had enough to make 1 full column. I'm sure he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I was able to PG his Vanguard attack and then drop my G-Guard for his follow-up attack, to when I was able to successfully go into Miracle Ace again, because I don't remember all the details, but I remember I went into my turn with two face-up damage, which was enough for me to use Miracle Ace successfully. And so I strode into Miracle Ace again, and I counted my charge units at the time, and at the time I still had about 12 or 13 in my deck thanks to the first Miracle Ace, and just for not seeing a lot of them up to that point. And so with the 1 card I had left in my hand, I did my triple drive, and I think I checked a non-charge unit and 2 charge units, and I had a misery column, so I was able to convert that non-charge unit into another charge unit, and I was able to push through him through the rest of the game and win that one 2-1. It was really close, and with the way I didn't mention this on the outset, but there was 32 or 34 players there, so there was only 5 rounds. And so if you went X2, there was a really, really good chance you wouldn't make it. So since I already lost one, I knew I had to win out the rest of them to give myself the best chance of making it. So I was remember being like really jittery during this time and like nervous that I would lose and then come up short yet again. And so I ended up beating these and went into round 4 going against a kid who I don't know. It was kind of strange. Like my first 3 rounds were against people I knew, and then my last rounds were against people I didn't know. It was crazy. And round 4, I played against a kid who was playing Dimensional Robo Shield Break or Shield Crush, which featured Goyusha as the starter, 4 Laurels, like a smattering of grade 2s, and then a crap ton of grade 3s with the purpose of using Daikaiser or Daikaiser Leon to be able to break through your shields. And so game 1, I realized quickly what he had when he rushed me down on his grade 2 ride, when he rolled grade 2 and called out a field with Laurel in the back and just started pressuring me from then on, which was hectic. I think I protected myself from that one, and then I stupidly called something to the front row rear guard. So when he rolled Daikaiser on his turn, he just attacked it, and so he got +4 cards off of that. And then I went into my first stride, tried to pressure him with Damphir and Cobalt, to which kind of really didn't work. I tried to pressure his rear guards so he can keep committing stuff onto the board, but it really was null and void because if he's replacing 2 cards with the 4 cards he drove check, it really didn't add up favorably for me. So what I did was that I tried to put more pressure on his Vanguard without giving him limit break because I didn't want to repeat the mistake that I did in the first round against Nubatama. And so, oh, and his name, it was Adam. We call him Weinstein. I forgot to mention his name. I mentioned everybody else's name. I don't know the name of the kid that I played in round 4. I didn't catch his name. And so on his stride, he G-guarded the unit that I called out through Ryzen Nova skill, and he went first stride Daikaiser Leon, and I dropped the PG, and he shield broke it, and then pushed me from like, I think I was at 3, so I went to 5, and he added 6 cards to his hand. But his drive checks was like a grade 3, a grade 3, the grade 2 that functions as a grade 3. He restood and checked another grade 3 or 2, and then like a 5k shield. His trigger lineup was interesting. I don't want to say bad because it worked for what he needed it for, because a lot of his damage came from the Vanguard. But I could surmise that he played 8 crit at least, and maybe 4 stand, 4 Rika, the one that returns to the deck and gives your Vanguard +4, I believe. And so from there, I went into Miracle Ace, and somehow, some way, I was able to push him because I think he healed, so he was at 2. So I pushed him from 2 to 6 on my Miracle Ace turn, thanks by and large to him having 4 or 5 grade 3s in his hand, and that was a, that was a really close one. That was really scary. And game 2, he opted to go first, and he did a repeat of what he did the first game, and G-guarded me on my first stride turn to win into first stride Daikaiser Leon. And I had two PGs in my hand. I put them both down, discard for both of them. His first checks were 2 grade 3s, broke it, shattered my hopes and dreams along with it for this game, and pretty much won out from there. I think I scooped in the interest of time because I didn't want things, even though we were both playing 2 really fast decks, I didn't want just the off chance of it going to time. And in game 3, I was like, oh, he wants to go first because he can G-guard and use Leon, but I also can use my G-guard, so I opted to go first in my game, or in game 3, to give myself a better chance of, well, I didn't want him to use the strategy of using Leon to then bot me with Shield Crush. So I went first and set up my plays to facilitate first try Miracle Ace. And I would have done that, but he ended up missing his grade 2 ride and with G assist twice. And I pretty much just rushed him down and won it from there, which is really anticlimactic. But those are the breaks you take when you model your deck around such a strong ability such as the grade 3 Shield Crush. You just happen to not work from at that moment in time. But I won, and that sounded bad, but I survived basically and made it into round 5 with a 3-1 record, or X1. And in the 5th round, I played against Charlotte, Darker Regulars, and I had when it comes to facing versus Sullivan, Blade Wings, or Charlotte, I would much rather face Charlotte, because even with their new stride, I don't have a lot of stuff on the field for them to retire. So my key would just be to try and keep my damage low so I don't get destroyed by Charlotte when it shows up. And so I had an easier time there, and he wasn't familiar with what Miracle Ace could do, which is similar with a lot of people when it comes to Spike Bros. They're not familiar with what my cards do, so that gives me an advantage going into it. And so the first game, I don't remember who went first, but I remember using Miracle Ace, and he understood why I was doing the plays I was doing, and he just kind of, it clicked for him to see what I was doing. And so going into game 2, like, his setups just weren't there at all. I believe I pushed him, I went more aggressive that game in game 2, and then when he rolled a grade 3, he didn't have the means to stride, and I had a G guard in my hand. So he attacked and I immediately G guarded it. And then I went to a kind of risky Miracle Ace turn, strictly because I was at low damage and I didn't see any heals from him. And so I still went for it, because if he healed, I would either stop it early and keep my hand, or I would keep pushing through and end up winning the game. And in this case, I believe he saw 1 heal, but it wasn't enough to stop me with the increase in power of Frog Raider to be able to stop me from getting through the rest of the game and winning. And thankfully, I finally broke in the top 8. I believe I was the fourth seed going into it, which is awesome because I've always been a perennial bubble player, I guess you could say. Like, I got 9th place at a previous ARG a couple years ago in Hartford, which is sad. And then at Bushy Road events, I would always go, either me or my team, we would always go X1 through up to the last round, and then we would lose and then get top 16, which is really good, but I always wanted to do better. And so it feels nice to finally be able to break top 8 and get into the top 8 rounds. And so in top 8, I faced Timely Chronojet. And if you saw my videos, you see I'm comfortable with that matchup. But in this go round, things were a little bit different because I wasn't familiar with the guy. He was a really cool guy. I wasn't familiar with his deck. And he played the card that's Counterblast 2 and choose a unit, put it to the bottom, which I haven't seen recently. I'm just seeing Calibum come down. And so that really surprised me. And game 1, he went first and held me a grade 2 for a turn. Or he stayed at grade 2 instead of opting to ride to grade 3, which would have been fine, but I used Mecha Trainer already to get Stride Fodder to prepare for him riding to grade 3. So when my turn came, I didn't get a heal on my draw or my drive checks. And so when he strode, I was pretty much just kind of up the creek without a paddle now, because my counterplay to them doing something like that is to G-guard, so I can go into Miracle Ace immediately to try and punish them for doing something like that. But my heals didn't come when I needed them to, which is fine. It's because I thought, like, okay, got through that one, go to the next game. And so in the follow-up game, I let him go first again with the idea that I would stride first and then get through the Metallica Phoenix turn. but I think he healed twice during that game. So by the time he ended his first drive turn, he was at 2 damage. And I got pushed because I didn't see a damage trigger at all for any of his small attacks, which would help me out a lot. And so I was at 5 damage with a low hand, and Miracle Ace just wasn't going to get there for me. So I ended up losing that game 0-2. And so I got out the tournament, but I still made my top 8. I got my invite here. And I talked to my fiance about it, and she got really excited because ARG Nationals is in Orlando this year, and we plan on going there for our honeymoon. And so she really loves it. She loves Disney a lot. And so I told her about it, and she was like, oh, we're going. So the plan is for me to go and participate in ARG Nationals. And the good thing about this is that it's on the weekend of the 17th and the 18th of December, which means that G9 releases the day before, well, it releases the 16th, which is the day before day 1, which means new spikes will be here, which means I will hopefully, with the help of my friends here and the friends of the shop that we go to, they'll be able to help me get what I need, and CFA will likely have updated by that time so I can play test and get ideas going. So I'll have what I need to when I go down to Orlando and be able to put my best foot forward and give myself the best chance of doing well there. So I'm excited. I'm really pumped, and I'm pumped to be able to make it there. I'm happy to finally crack a top 8 for once, and I'm excited for what the future holds when set 9 comes out, and giving myself the chance to go down there to do the best I can. So really fun day. The only downside was that there was limited food options, so I was starving by the time we were done. Had to drop money on expensive convention food, convention level food, got a hot dog and stuff like that. But it was a good day overall, and that'll do it. When it comes to thinking about stuff that I learned from the tournament for the deck, uh, for now, I'm working with dropping out Medical Manager and Mood Maker and replacing it by streamlining the deck by putting back in 4 Frog and 4 Misery. I used to play 3 and 3, but I started to see over time that having 3 and 3 started to hurt me more than it started to help me, because having both combo pieces on at the same time meant that if I did check a critical, I didn't have to put the power on the frog and then split the crit to Misery, which is only a 16k attack, unless I give her a power boost from Miracle Ace, which means it's not going to frog for the future. So if I have both combo pieces and I check a critical, I can give the power to frog and I give the crit to the unit I put in front of frog. Excuse me. So that means, say I call out Cobalt Impulse with the power from Ace, or power from being called out through Ryzen, and the power from the trigger is now a 26k line with the critical, versus giving it to Misery, which is only 16k with a critical. So things didn't sync up there. And then I wanted to try out Gloria again, which Gloria says counterblast 1 after she boosts a grade 1 or greater Spike Brother unit. Put the unit she boosted to the bottom, or draw a card and then put the unit she boosted to the bottom. What this does is that it adds more power to Frog Raider because it combos with Miracle Ace. It lets me draw a card, so I could potentially add another charge unit to my hand. So I can use Misery to convert a non-charge unit into a charge unit, and then I can tuck Misery to the bottom and then draw a card, so I can kind of turn Misery into a charge unit, which is helpful, really, really helpful to keep my chain going, because there's been a couple times in testing where I had one less card that I could use, or my soul was 8, which meant 4 uses of the generation break, but I only had 3 charge units in hand, so I was 1 short to fully utilize my resources. But Misery and Gloria, after I used Gloria, I drew a card and there was another charge unit, so it helped me fulfill my need to use all my resources, which is really helpful. And then when it comes to lethal forward in the future, assuming lethal forward becomes a deck staple, and assuming they don't release something that does what Gloria does but better, I can then use Gloria to open up that circle in front of her. So then if lethal hits, I can now use his ability to put a unit in front of that empty space to attack again. So it effectively, I can add plus 15,000 to Frog Raider if all those things come together, which is possible. And then I'm working on a different trigger lineup for now, which is 7 crit, 3 draw triggers, 2 stands. I started noticing that putting on pressure has been kind of lacking, even though my Miracle Ace turn is great. If I can't push them high enough, it doesn't matter as much. But I don't want to give up on the draw triggers just yet, because there are times when even at 3, so like assuming you start your game with having drawn a draw trigger in your hand, you have 3 left. Those 3 draw triggers have been really helpful so far. And to put pieces together, to use as fodder for things and such. And so I want to keep those in there for now, but I also wanted to increase my critical count. And I wanted to put back in 4 Liar Lips, because having that option to put 1 in front of Frog Raider to attack, and then put 1 behind Vanguard so I can push in 2 and draw 2 cards and potentially get 2 more charge units. Like, just being able to keep that constant cycle going of converting stuff in hand into charge units for Miracle Ace is really, really good. And so that's what I wanted to facilitate with these changes. I might potentially go back to 2 Dope, but that's going to be more contingent on lethal forward sticking around. If he does stick around, I might go back to 2 Dope, because if Gloria is in the deck, she can help give me extra use to the counter blast that Devil Watch, not Devil Watch, but Hive Maker otherwise could have used. So with 2 Dope plus lethal, if I draw a Dope, I'll have 1 in deck for if lethal hits, I can get that 21k attack off versus calling out something that's less than that. But that's all. That's really wanted this to showcase for you guys for now. And I hope you guys enjoyed. This is longer than I expected, but hope you guys still enjoyed it. And check out for more. I'm trying to give you guys more proof plays, try to give you guys some more film footage of me and or the shop guys playing. And let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys want to see. I'll do my best to try and bring it to you. And until next time, peace. Be easy.